been with someone who touched your body but never reached your soul? You can feel it, right? That emptiness that hides behind passion, that silence that creeps in after the heat fades. See, love and lust wear the same face at first, but one feeds your spirit, the other just drains it. So tonight, let's talk about the truth behind desire and the 10 things he's secretly dying for you to try in bed. Not just to please him, but to awaken something real between you both. The first thing he's secretly dying for you to understand is that intimacy isn't just physical. It's emotional, mental, and spiritual, all wrapped together. So many people confuse closeness with touch, but real connection starts way before the lights go out. It begins in the moments when you see him for who he really is, when you notice the way he hides his pain behind a grin, or how he sometimes falls silent, not because he doesn't care, but because he's tired of being strong all the time. Every man walking this earth carries a story, a weight, a fight that no one else fully sees. And when he finds someone who makes him feel safe enough to lay that armor down, that's when he truly lets you in. He might not say it out loud, but what he's really craving is trust. Not the kind that's built on promises, but the kind that's built on presence. When you look him in the eyes and make him feel like he's enough. Not for what he gives, not for what he provides, but for who he is. That's the kind of touch no body can replace. Real intimacy is born at space, when he feels accepted in his rawest, most unguarded state. That's what every man secretly longs for, but rarely admits, because the world teaches men to hide softness like it's weakness. But to him, it's not weakness, it's home. He wants you to understand that connection doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't always need words or motion. Sometimes it's the silence that speaks the loudest. When you sit next to him, without demanding, without judging, without trying to fix him, that's when he feels the most loved. That stillness, that peace, it tells him he doesn't have to perform to be valued. He doesn't have to be perfect to be desired. Just existing with you, breathing next to you, that's enough, because to him, intimacy isn't a transaction. It's a translation of trust. In this world where everyone's chasing surface level attention, where people confuse validation with affection, he's dying for something rare. Someone who sees his soul before his skin. Someone who listens deeper than his words and feels deeper than his touch. He's tired of being desired for what he can offer. He wants to be desired for who he truly is. When you speak to him with patience, when you show him respect, even when he's struggling, that's when his walls start to crumble. That's when the real man behind the image shows up. The man who wants to love and be loved without fear. I knew a man once who said he stopped opening up because every time he did, someone used it against him. He said, I got tired of being soft in a world that only claps for strength. That's the story of so many men out there. They crave understanding, but they've been taught to fear vulnerability. So they hide behind jokes, behind work, behind distractions. But when he meets a woman who lets him breathe, who doesn't punish him for being human, that's when everything changes. That's when his heart starts to trust again. It's easy to think men only want the physical, but that's the surface line society keeps selling. What most of them want, but don't know how to say, is peace. A connection that feels like exhale. A bond that doesn't drain, but restores. That's the kind of intimacy that heals generations. When a man feels that kind of safety, he doesn't just open his heart, he rebuilds it. And that's something no material thing can buy. So when he pulls you close, it's not always lust. Sometimes it's longing for acceptance, for understanding, for peace. He's not asking for perfection. He's asking for patience. He's not asking you to fix him. He's asking you to see him. Because once a man feels truly seen, he'll give you everything he's got. His loyalty, his energy, his truth, his love. And that's the kind of connection that lasts far beyond touch. It becomes soul to soul, energy to energy, truth to truth. The second thing he's secretly dying for you to understand is that he wants to feel desired too. So many people think only women crave to be wanted, admired, and pursued. But that's a lie that's been fed for generations. Men have hearts too. They just hide it better. The truth is, every man wants to feel like he's more than a provider, more than a protector. He wants to feel chosen. Not because of what he gives, but because of who he is. He wants to know that you look at him and see a man worth craving, worth waiting for, worth loving. He might never say it, but when you make him feel wanted, it changes him. It's in the small things, the way you touch his arm when you walk past him, the way your eyes meet his and linger just a second longer, the way you compliment him, not just for what he does, but for how he moves, how he thinks, how he makes you feel. Those little moments tell him He matters that he's not invisible in his effort or his silence. Too often men walk through this world carrying silent battles, and no one stops to notice. But when a woman does, when she says, "I see you," it hits deeper than anything physical ever could. Think about it. A man can work all day, grind through the noise, face rejection, stress, and struggle, and still come home with a quiet heart if he knows the person waiting for him wants him, not just needs him. There's a difference between needing a man's presence and wanting his spirit. Need is about survival. Want is about choice. And when you choose and when you show that your desire isn't obligation but passion, it gives him life. It reminds him that he's still a man who can inspire, who can ignite, who can make someone's heart beat a little faster. Men aren't made of stone. They bleed from words too. They break under indifference. When he reaches out and you pull away, when he compliments you and you shrug it off, it chips at something inside him. Not because he's fragile, but because men rarely get the chance to be appreciated beyond what they can give. Society told them to chase, to lead, to initiate. But no one told them that sometimes they deserve to be pursued too. And when they're not, it makes them question their worth in quiet ways they'll never admit. I once talked to a brother who said he stopped trying to be romantic because his effort was always taken for granted. He said, "I just want to feel like she sees me the way I see her." And that right there is the truth hiding in so many relationships. Men want to feel like they still make your heart skip, like you still see the spark in them. Because when that fades, they start fading too. And it's not about ego, it's about emotional oxygen. So when you tell him he looks good before he even asks, when you run your fingers through his hair, when you say, "I love how you move," or "I'm proud of how you handle things," it hits him in a place deeper than lust. It reaches his soul. It reminds him that he's still desirable, not just for his body, but for his energy. And here's the real truth. When a man feels desired, he gives more. He loves louder. He listens deeper. He starts to open up in ways you didn't think he could, because finally he's not performing for love. He's receiving it. That's the difference between passion and peace. Passion burns out when it's one-sided, but when both people are seen, wanted, and appreciated, that fire never dies. It evolves. So yeah, he might not tell you this. He might keep it locked behind jokes or quiet smiles, but deep down, every man wants to feel like he's more than a role. Like he's not just the one holding things together, but someone who still desires, still admires, still enough. Because when a man feels wanted, truly wanted, he doesn't just love you back. He honors you with everything he's got. The third thing he's secretly dying for you to understand is that he needs space, not distance, not disconnection, but space to breathe, to think, to be. See, sometimes people confuse a man's silence for lack of care, but that silence is often the only place he can hear himself. The world keeps asking him to be strong, to lead, to protect, to never show weakness. Every day he's fighting battles you may never see. Pressure from work, expectations from family, fears about the future. And when it gets heavy, he doesn't always know how to explain it. He withdraws not because he doesn't love you, but because he's trying to find his balance again. Too many people take that personal. They think he's pulling away when really he's just recharging his soul. It's like this. Imagine a phone that's been running on low battery all day. You wouldn't expect it to keep working without being plugged in, right? It's the same with him. When his energy's drained, when his mind's cluttered, he needs time to reset, to gather himself, to remember who he is outside of everything that's demanded of him. And when you respect that space instead of fearing it, you earn his trust on a whole new level. Because what men rarely say out loud is that they don't want to lose themselves trying to keep everyone else happy. They want to give you their best, but they can if they're running on empty. Space doesn't mean absence. It means honesty. It means he's trying to protect what he values by not showing up half-hearted. And if you understand that, if you let him breathe instead of trying to hold tighter, he'll always come back with more love, more energy, more clarity. There was this man once who told me she thought I stopped loving her because I stopped talking. But I was quiet because I was fighting battles I didn't want her to carry. That right there is what so many men go through. They carry their struggles in silence because they don't want to burden the people they love. They think they're protecting you by handling it alone, but what they really need is someone who understands that silence doesn't always mean distance. It can mean discipline. It's him trying to stay strong, not disappear. But here's where the real test comes in. When you give him space without guilt tripping him for it. When you say, take your time, I'm here when you're ready, it builds something unshakable. Because now he knows you're not just there for the good moments, you're there for the real ones. You're not trying to control his peace, you're helping him find it. And that's what every man is secretly dying for. A love that doesn't panic when he pulls back. A love that trusts even in quiet. Space is sacred. It's the gap where growth happens, where thoughts settle, where emotions untangle. If he doesn't get that space, frustration builds, and soon love starts feeling like pressure instead of peace. Relationships aren't about being together 24/7. They're about being whole enough on your own that when you come together, you add to each other, not drain each other. So when he goes silent, don't rush to fill the gap with fear or assumptions. Trust that he's finding his rhythm. Give him time to sit with his thoughts, to talk to his own spirit before he talks to you. Because a man who's allowed to breathe freely will always choose to return. He'll come back lighter, softer, more present. But a man who feels suffocated will start looking for air somewhere else. Not because he doesn't care, but because no one can love properly when they feel trapped. Understand this, space doesn't break connection. It strengthens it when it's rooted in trust. The greatest love doesn't demand constant attention. It flows through freedom. And when you love a man enough to let him breathe, you're telling him, I trust your heart, even when it's quiet. That's the kind of love that doesn't fade when life gets hard. It deepens. Because real love doesn't chase every moment. It believes in the bond even when there's silence in between. The fourth thing he's secretly dying for you to understand is that his confidence isn't always as strong as it looks. You see, people look at a man who moves with pride, who stands tall, who handles his business, and they think he's unshakable. But even the strongest ones, the ones who seem built from steel, got cracks you can't see. Society told men they're supposed to be confident no matter what, that they should never show insecurity or fear. So they learn to wear confidence like armor, even when deep down they bleed inside. And when he's with someone he loves, he doesn't want to wear that mask. He wants to feel safe enough to take it off. When you compliment him genuinely, when you say, I'm proud of you, or I believe in you, you have no idea how much that means to him. Because the world doesn't hand men validation easily. Nobody tells them they're doing great. Nobody tells them they're appreciated. Most men only hear from people when they mess up, not when they've done something right. So when the woman he loves looks him in the eyes and says, you're enough, it fills a void he didn't even know was still open. It hits deeper than 100 surface level praises because it comes from the one person he wants to impress, not through perfection, but through presence. There's a story about a man who worked long nights, grinding for his family, barely sleeping, always showing up. One night his partner looked at him and said, I know you're tired, but I see you. He said that simple line brought him to tears because for the first time in a long time, he didn't feel invisible. That's how deep words can go when they're real. Men act like they don't need reassurance, but truthfully, they crave it. They just won't beg for it. They'll act like they fine while quietly wondering if they're enough, if they're appreciated, if their effort even matters. The thing about men is they'll fight the whole world and still question themselves when they're alone. They'll replay every mistake, every time they fell short, every word of doubt someone threw at them. And what they long for most isn't someone to fix it, but someone to believe in them through it. Because when a man feels like his partner believes in him, it gives him strength to fight battles he thought would break him. But when he feels criticized, when he feels like he's never doing enough, that same man starts to crumble. He may not show it, but inside, he's losing his spark. It's easy to think men don't need emotional support, but that's the biggest lie there is. They just learn to silence that part of themselves because the world told them real men don't need help. But real strength isn't pretending you don't feel. It's learning how to stand tall even when you do. So when you speak life into him, when you remind him that his worth isn't just tied to what he earns or what he provides, you give him something rare. Peace. And peace to a man is love in its purest form. Sometimes, all it takes is one sentence to change his day. You handled that well. I trust your judgment. I love how hard you try. These words aren't small. They're oxygen to a tired soul. Because under that hard shell, most men are just trying not to let anybody down. They're trying to be enough for everyone while forgetting to be gentle with themselves. And when you bring kindness instead of criticism, grace instead of judgment, you become that soft place he can land when the world's too loud. So when he shows his insecurity, don't use it against him. When he doubts himself, don't shame him for it. Remind him that he's human. And humans stumble. Let him know he's still your man, even when he's unsure, even when he doesn't have all the answers. Because real love doesn't just celebrate a man's victories. It holds him together when he's fallen apart. Behind every confident man is a heart that once questioned if he was enough. And the truth is, when he feels safe to be uncertain around you, that's when you've reached a level of connection most people never find. Because love isn't about being perfect. It's about being real enough to say, I see your cracks and I still choose you. That's the kind of love that doesn't fade when confidence does. That's the kind that heals. When it comes to connection, a lot of people think it's all about what happens in the sheets. But the truth is, what happens before that moment even begins is what shapes everything that follows. The fifth thing he's secretly dying for you to try is taking control. Not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally. It's about switching the energy. See, so many women wait for the man to make the first move, to lead every moment, to decide the pace, the rhythm, the tone. But what if you stepped into that space and showed him that you can hold power too? That you can lead with the same fire, the same intensity, but in your own way. That kind of confidence hits different. It shakes something deep inside him. Because when a man feels like you trust your own power, it awakens something primal, something that respects you, desires you, and fears losing you all at once. Imagine this. He's used to being the one calling the shots. He's used to you waiting, reacting, following his cues. But one night you shift it. You take the lead. You lean in first. Whisper something that's pure confidence, pure energy. You touch him in a way that says, I know what I want, and I'm not afraid to show it. That moment tells him something words can't say. It tells him you're not just there to please him, you're there to experience him, to connect with him, to let your own fire speak. That's when he realizes this isn't about dominance or submission, it's about balance. Real love, real passion, real connection is two powers meeting in the same storm, not one surrendering to the other. You see, when you take control, it's not about ego. It's about showing that you're present, that you're not afraid of your own desires. Society teaches women to hide that part, to dim that flame, to act like they don't crave too. But he's dying for you to be free in that moment, to let that raw and filtered energy come out. Because when you do, you give him permission to drop his own walls. You make the space safe for both of you to be vulnerable. That's the kind of experience that changes everything. It's not just pleasure, it's revelation. And here's the thing, control doesn't only mean taking charge physically. It can mean setting the pace, creating the atmosphere, being intentional with your energy. Maybe you start with eye contact that lingers a second longer than usual. Maybe it's the tone in your voice that shifts the whole room. Maybe it's the confidence in your movements that makes him feel like time just stopped. You see, control can be soft, it can be quiet, it can be calm power that makes him surrender willingly, not out of pressure, but out of awe. That's the kind of energy that makes a man addicted, not to your body, but to your spirit. And let me tell you this truth. A woman who knows how to take control doesn't lose her softness. She just knows when to use it. She doesn't become less feminine, she becomes untouchable because she's mastered the art of presence. She knows that pleasure isn't just something that happens, it's something that's built, guided, created. And when she takes that power in her hands, she doesn't just turn them on, she opens them up. So when I say he's dying for you to take control, I don't mean just for the thrill of it. I mean because deep down, he's tired of pretending he has to lead everything. He wants to feel chosen, wanted, desired. He wants to see the fire in your eyes that tells him he's not the only one burning. When you do that, it's not about the bed anymore. It's about trust. It's about connection. It's about two people finally letting go of the roles the world gave them and creating something real. That's the kind of control he's dying for. Not the kind that dominates, but the kind that liberates both of you. The sixth thing he's secretly dying for you to try is being completely present. Not just showing up physically, not just going through the motions, but really being there. Body, mind, and soul. See, a lot of people think passion is about what you do, but the truth, it's about what you feel and how you make the other person feel. Presence is the difference between a moment that fades and a memory that never leaves. And when a woman is truly present, when she's not distracted, not comparing, not faking, it hits him like lightning. It's not about how loud things get, it's about how deep it feels. There's something powerful about a woman who's completely tuned in. It's not about performance, it's about energy. It's the way her eyes lock in on his, the way her breathing syncs with his, the way every movement says, I see you, I feel you, I'm here with you. That's presence. And that's what he's starving for in a world that's always moving too fast, always scrolling, always thinking about what's next instead of what's now. When you give him your full attention, you're not just connecting with his body, you're connecting with his soul. That's something rare. That's something unforgettable. You ever notice how sometimes people touch, but it feels cold? That's because their minds aren't there. They're thinking about insecurities. They wonder if they look right. They're trapped in their own heads. But when you let all that go and show up with raw truth, you bring something sacred to the moment. You make it feel alive. You make him feel alive. It's not about being perfect. It's about being real. And realness, that's magnetic. That's the kind of thing that makes him stop and think, she's different. Presence is vulnerability too. It's saying, I'm not hiding. It's allowing the silence to speak, allowing eye contact to linger, allowing emotion to surface. That kind of openness breaks through a man's armor. It makes him trust you in ways he didn't even know he could. Because when you're fully there, he feels safe enough to be fully there too. You're not just giving him a moment. You give him permission to be human again. And that's something every man secretly craves but rarely admits. Think about this. When two people are really present with each other, time disappears. It's not about the act anymore. It's about the connection. It's about energy moving back and forth like music that nobody else can hear. You don't have to say much. Sometimes your silence says everything. It tells him. You don't have to perform for me. You can just be. And that's powerful because the truth is most men are tired of pretending to be perfect, strong, in control all the time. When you're present, you remind him he doesn't have to fight to be seen. He already is. But presence takes courage. It means letting your own walls down too. It means forgetting everything you've been told about how you're supposed to act, how you should move, what's too much or not enough. It means trusting the moment, trusting that your authenticity is enough. And once you do that, something sacred happens. You both stop acting. You both stop hiding. You both finally start feeling. And when that happens, when you're present like that, it becomes more than pleasure. It becomes healing. It becomes truth, because the human heart isn't just starving for touch. It's starving for someone to see it, to be there with it, to not look away. That's the kind of connection that doesn't end when the lights go out. That's the kind of presence he's dying for. So if you want to give him something he'll never forget, don't just give him your body, give him your attention, give him your focus, give him that quiet energy that says, you matter right here, right now. Because when you do, he'll feel something real. Something the world can't fake, can't buy, and can't replace. The seventh thing he's secretly dying for you to try isn't about positions or tricks. It's about honesty. Raw, unfiltered, unpolished truth. Because deep down, every man wants a woman who's not afraid to tell him what she really wants, what she really feels, and what she truly needs. The kind of honesty that doesn't just speak, it vibrates through your actions, through your eyes, through your energy. You see, most people hide behind masks, even in the most intimate moments. They smile, they moan, they play roles, but it's all rehearsed. What he's dying for is someone who shows up as she really is. Unafraid, unapologetic, real. There's something magnetic about a woman who's honest in her passion. When she says what she likes, when she isn't shy to guide him, when she lets her truth fill the room, she gives him something no fantasy ever could. Because that's not acting, that's connection. And connection is rare in a world full of pretending. The truth is, he doesn't want perfection. He wants presence with honesty. He wants to know you're not just playing along, but that you feeling it too, that it's real for you. That you're both writing the same moment together instead of reading from some old script. See, when you fake it, you rob both of you of something sacred. You take away the chance to grow, to learn each other, to explore the truth. But when you're honest, even if that truth is awkward, even if it's clumsy or quiet, it builds trust. And that trust becomes the fire that makes everything else burn brighter. Imagine this. A woman looking into his eyes and saying, "This feels good, but here's what I really want." That simple truth can change everything. It opens a new level of communication, of confidence, of closeness that no game can ever touch. Think about it. So many relationships fall apart because people are scared to speak their truth. They think honesty will push the other person away. But in reality, it's the silence that kills love, not the truth. The truth challenges you, stretches you, makes you confront yourself. And that's what real intimacy is about. Two people being brave enough to be naked, not just in body, but in soul. When you speak your truth, you invite him to do the same. You give him space to be honest about what he wants, what he's afraid of, what he's been missing. And in that space, you both get free. There's also another side to honesty, the kind that shows up through your energy. You don't even have to say much. Your body speaks. Your tone speaks. Your silence speaks. When you're holding back, when you're disconnected, when something doesn't feel right, he can feel it. Energy doesn't lie. But when you're open, when you're present, when you're letting the truth flow through every movement, it transforms the moment from physical to spiritual. That's what he's craving. Not performance, but truth. Because truth is what makes pleasure real. Honesty also means being brave enough to admit when your heart's not in it. When you're tired, when you're not okay. And that's not weakness, that's power. It shows self-respect. It tells him, I know my worth, and I won't pretend to feel something I don't. A man who truly wants you will respect that. In fact, he'll crave that honesty because it means everything else you give him is genuine. It means when you do surrender, it's real. And realness, that's rare. That's gold in a world where so many are selling illusions. So be honest, not just for him, but for yourself. Be the kind of woman who values her truth more than approval, because once you start living and loving from that place, everything changes. You stop attracting people who only want your body and start attracting souls who can handle your depth. That's when love becomes more than desire. It becomes understanding. It becomes trust. It becomes peace. And that's what he's dying for. Not perfection, not performance, just truth. The kind of truth that doesn't whisper, it roars. The kind that strips away the fake and lets love finally be what it was meant to be. Real, raw, and honest. At the end of it all, what every man is truly dying for isn't just wild nights or temporary highs. It's connection that feels alive, real, and soul deep. It's about more than the body. It's about the bond. It's about the moments when both hearts beat in rhythm, when both minds are free from pretending, when both souls recognize each other beyond the surface. That's the kind of passion that can't be faked, bought, or replaced. That's the kind that leaves a mark long after the lights go out. See, when love meets truth, everything changes. It's no longer about chasing thrills. It's about building trust, about feeling safe enough to be yourself. It's not about who can impress who. It's about who can see who. That's the power of real intimacy. It's not found in the noise. It's found in the quiet, the honesty, the laughter, the vulnerability, the stillness after everything. The truth is, everyone's looking for something real. Something that doesn't fade with time or distance, something that makes them feel seen, heard, and valued. But that kind of connection only grows when both people are brave enough to show up fully, body, mind, and soul. When they let go of fear, pride, and expectations and just let the truth breathe between them. So don't settle for empty touches or half-hearted moments. Don't give your energy to people who only want your skin but not your spirit. You deserve someone who's hungry for your mind, your voice, your peace, your chaos, and your dreams. Someone who's not just chasing your body, but holding your soul like it's something sacred. Because in the end, that's what intimacy was always meant to be. Two souls learning to love without pretending. Two hearts meeting without masks. Two people daring to be real when the world taught them to fake it. And when you find that, when you live that, that's not just passion. That's freedom. That's what keeps the fire burning, not for a night, but for a lifetime.